So a while ago, I made a video about Monster High characters and imagined what their kids might look like if the canon couples had a next generation. And you guys loved it way more than what I expected, and the comments section was packed with theories and requests. So today we're going to do a part 2 featuring some couples I've missed, some new dynamics, and even ones that the comment section refused to let me forget. So without any further ado, let's get started.
And if I do, you got some real nerve. Is that any way to talk?
So first up, we're going to focus on the one that got me called out the most in my last video, which would be Clawdeen and Toralei. Now, I didn't include Clawdeen last time because honestly, she didn't have a super clear romantic pairing in the first generation older shows. But then a lot of you guys actually reminded me that in the comics and even in the new Monster High series, Clawdeen and Toralei had a bit of chemistry. And I'm going to hold my hands up here as well because I've never seen the comics. I didn't even realize there were official comics of the first gen series, and I never really actually watched the new generations of Monster High aside from maybe a short clip here and there and maybe a couple of episodes right in the beginning. I'm a nostalgic fan, you see, so I was more concerned about the first generation compared to any other generation that followed up the series. Now looking back at the Gen 1 shows, I'm going to be very honest in here, but I don't see any chemistry between Clawdeen and Toralei. If anything, I see more chemistry between Toralei and Cleo compared to anything else. But as I mentioned earlier, I didn't read the comics, I don't watch the new series, so you guys are probably well more informed than I am between Clawdeen and Toralei's relationship. So you know what, I'm going to put my hands up on this one, and that's why I created what I thought their daughter would look like if they had one together. The only issue I have design-wise is that mixing a werewolf and a werecat can be a bit chaotic. We know that they can be sworn rivals, kind of like dogs and cats kind of thing, but that's what made this design kind of fun. So what I was attempting to do is to basically capture that rivalry energy into their daughter's design. So basically trying my best to mix both of their characteristics together, but at the same time making sure that this character is quite holistic. So I gave her Clawdeen's strong, confident vibe, you know, with the wild hair and the bold color palette. So if you guys can notice it right there, her hair is a bit more similar to Clawdeen, but also remains short on one side, kind of like Toralei's hair. Speaking of Toralei's hair, I can see that all across her hair she has these like stripes that resembles a cat's fur. I didn't want to do that all across the hair because we also have to consider Clawdeen's genes in here. So I thought, you know those things back in the 2000s where you kind of dye a stripe of your hair with one color? So I thought we could do something similar but make it a bit more funky by not only adding a different color to that stripe but also a different pattern. So that's why you could see those stripes on one strand of her hair. Now, in terms of her fashion aesthetics, I went with what I call the chav style. It's basically a style that a lot of the popular kids would wear, and back then in my days, the popular kids would wear this leatherish jacket with fluffy bits on them. They normally don't have any designs, but for this case, because I wanted to have a monster-esque design on them, I added some of those kind of like cat-like designs, cat-like patterns all across her design as well. Now, I'm not sure about nowadays, but back in my day, a lot of chavs used to wear leggings a lot. So that's why you could see she's got these leggings as well with, of course, stripe patterns on them. And then for her shoes, I did make them look a bit like bones and ribs because there's a whole thing about how dogs really like chewing on bones. So I thought it would be a really cool design to add onto her character as well. And that's what I thought Clawdeen and Toralei's daughter would look like. Next up, I'm going to go with another highly requested couple, Lagoona and Gil. The reason why I didn't do them last time was just because their design was a bit difficult for me to come up with a Gen 2 design for. Just because if you look at them right now, be honest with me guys, they look quite similar when it comes to their aesthetics and their color palettes. So in my opinion, it was a bit difficult to create a Gen 2 of them. This couple didn't really stand out to me as well, and I found that their relationship was slightly frustrating in my opinion, just because Gil didn't really have any backbone. From what I remembered, he didn't really want to be associated with Lagoona too much because well, I suppose that's not the right word for it, but I suppose he was a bit hesitant with his relationship with Lagoona because his parents were a bit racist. From what I recall, Gil is actually a freshwater type monster and Lagoona is a saltwater type monster, and his parents don't like her because she's from a different species or something. And I think in one of the films as well, I think it was the 13 Wishes film, Lagoona wished for herself to be a freshwater monster, and then that's when Gil's parents accepted her. So we can't really argue that Gil's parents don't like her for any other reason aside from her being a different race or species of monster, which I basically think is racism. And I don't really remember the exact specifics of it, but he wasn't really defending her on it as well, because a lot of the times he was just saying, oh, my parents told me not to hang out with you, they told me not to do this with you because you're a saltwater monster. And you know what, in his defense, he's literally a teenager, so there's nothing he could do about it, but still he had no backbone. With the new Monster High series, I'm actually not very certain on Lagoona's relationship status just because she's had a huge redesign. So if you guys want, you can tell me how her relationship is like in the comments down below on the new Monster High series. But anyways, like what I was saying earlier, Lagoona and Gil have very similar color palettes and kind of aesthetics in general, so I was really struggling in how I can design their child. So to make their kid stand out, I use a little genetics logic. So sometimes kids take after one parent more than the other, and I made this character lean more towards Lagoona visually, but still show some traces of Gil's design. For example, for her hair, it starts off sleek near the roots, kind of like Gil's, but then it turns wavy and curly towards the end, very much so like Lagoona's classic beachy waves. And one thing you guys might notice is that I added a fin crest on her head. It's based on the bull sharks, which is one of the only living creatures right now that can travel and live in both salt water and fresh water. And I did this just because I thought it was a great metaphor for Gil and Lagoona's relationship, you know, kind of like two different worlds that found its way to meet each other in the middle. And then for her aesthetics, I wanted to go with something a bit more beach casual in a way, just because her parents' outfit, both of them, they kind of look like they're wearing some sort of uniform, and I wanted to avoid that, so I gave her this bright pastel swim top. And then my favorite part would have to be the shoes, just because I made them look like waves. But Lagoona and Gil are wearing sandals, so I did keep the sandal type look on her, but with the wave, it adds a bit more of a flair to it. Now lastly, I'm gonna go with a couple that I find the most cutest, and that would be Abbey and Heath. Now looking back at the Gen 1 series, I'm not very certain that these two are 100% canon, but the way that the show and the film heavily hinted at their chemistry made me kind of believe that they were somewhat canon, or at least were interested with each other. But also, I really do like the fire and ice dynamic. I feel that that's a perfect opposites attract combo, so I definitely had to draw their second generation as well. Looking back at the parts where Abbey was first getting introduced and when she was trying to get into the main group, I feel that Heath definitely fell first. Now, I'm not sure if Abbey actually fell harder or anything like that, but she definitely showed some interest to Heath as well. I feel that she found him quite like a pest at the beginning. She wasn't really interested, but excuse the pun, she started warming up to him a bit later. They were also one of the couples I was thinking about drawing a second gen for, and the very first time I've done a video like this. And again, the only reason why I didn't do it is because of a design choice, or rather a design issue, just because drawing the actual second gen itself would be fine, but in terms of coloring the second gen, I was finding it a bit difficult to, just because Abbey and Heath, they both have a clashing color palette. They're not complementary, and the icy blues from Abbey versus the fiery reds and yellows from Heath basically made a visual whiplash. So instead of forcing myself to blend them directly, I was thinking, you know, what happens when fire and ice meet? It makes steam, right? And that idea became the base of the whole design. And her whole color palette basically leans into more soft purples and cloudy pastels. I didn't really want her to literally be steamy, but I used the kind of like cloud imagery as a symbolic middle ground between Heath and cold. And then for her outfit, I gave her a cozy vibe. So she's got this warm knit sweater with a soft skirt, and I made the trim of the skirt to look a bit cloudy as well. And speaking of cloudy, she definitely has some clouds or steam at the end of her hair, kind of like a waterfall, and that's the same design all across her boots as well. It feels kind of like Abby's winter vibe, but kind of softened with the warmth that reminds you of Heath. So now you can see how the blues and pink kind of melt into each other like a fog. It's gentle but also kind of vibrant, and I do admit that there's not much Heath in her design as well. She looks a lot more like Abby but without the white hair. But it's one of the only ways that I could design her without her looking like I've literally just mixed up Heath and Abby together. To be honest though, I really love her color palette and I do love her design. Out of all the designs in this video, she definitely has to be my favorite because I like all that kind of dreamy, aesthetic, soft pastel vibe she's got going on. I feel like she's definitely my favorite. Well, that's all I have for today, and I hope you guys like these 3 new Monster High next gen designs. And as usual, if you guys want me to make more videos like these in the future, make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you want me to make another next gen Monster High series, let me know which couples I should consider next time. And of course, I'll see you all next Mango Monday. Bye!